Okay, so my name's Brian Yancey. We're here in Aurora, Colorado today at NewTek Machinery. We're going to discuss the ins and outs and the steps required to change a profile in an SSQ II panel machine. We will be changing the profile in a machine with notching, so we'll cover what will be necessary for notching and a machine without notching. First key step in a changeover for any NewTek machine. One, we want to make sure that your machine is unplugged and or turned off. At no point should the machine be under power when you're working on it. Second step, or second key important safety step, is at no point should you have your hand through or in the shear at the exit of the machine. It's very dangerous. Just take caution not to put your hands or any part of your body or tools through the shear. First step in a change-up is going to be taking the covers off of the machine so that we can access the internals. Next step, we're going to remove the tooling from the right and the left of the machine. You'll either need a ratcheting wrench or ratchet with a 1/2-inch socket, 1/2 inch either way. Easy way to do this so you don't juggle the wrench or the ratchet and the tooling and the fasteners is if you go through the machine, entry to exit, break all the fasteners loose to where they're finger tight, then you can put your wrench and or ratchet down, then go back through the machine without having to juggle a tool and actually take that tooling out of the machine. One other tip that might help you out, especially with the heavier tooling, for the machine left, if you bring this tooling rail out, gives you a little bit easier access from the left side of the machine. That way you're not overextending yourself or your back trying to get to this tooling. Step 3 is to determine whether you do or do not need to move your right side #1 fixed mount rail. Now, there are 2 locations where you can find the position of the rail for the tooling you're using. Your first location, profile changeover procedure in your manual, or on the frame rail of your machine. Machines without notchers, obviously you'll be able to see that a little easier. Now, currently, our fixed mount rail is in the inboard position. The rail is slid in. We're going to a 450 profile. That's a snap lock 450. So we're going to look at our slide block chart. SS 450, rail needs to be outboard. All right, so step 4, slide block rail #1, bolt C, 4 locations. We're going to take them loose. They don't need to be out, they just need to be loose. Okay, so step 5, this is important. This rail must be parallel with your string, okay? So we need to make sure that it slides completely to the outboard position, entry to exit, all right? So make sure it's in there. All right, if you need to cycle it back and forth, that's what you need to do just to make sure it's out completely. Then we're going to tighten it down. You just want to go about a 1/4 turn past tight. You don't need a lot of stress on these bolts. All right, step 6, we need to determine whether our left number 1 rail should be in the position A or position B. Now, tag is on the rail. You can also find this in the manual. Again, we're doing the SS450, position B. Currently, we're in position A. So we're just going to break these bolts loose. Move the bar to position B. Again, making sure that it's out completely. Step 7, reinstallation of the tooling. We're going to start with our first piece of tooling on the right side, R1-1. That means tooling number 1, right side, position number 1 for a SS450 profile. Back side of the tooling, and this is important. You want to make sure that this surface is flush with the rail, so that when the tooling goes in and you bolt it down, that it's completely snug against that rail and parallel in the machine. Position 1, you can see through the window. All right, so we're going to get that tooling number 1 in the window. Give it a shake, make sure it's staying up snug against the rail. Hand tighten these bolts. And then without over tightening, we're done with the first piece of tooling. Okay, step 8, we're just going to continue reinstalling the tooling in the machine, going down the right side. So we're just going to use SS450 R2-2. It's the second piece of tooling in the second position. Again, just looking through the window, make sure we line up 2 with 2. When the tooling's out of the machine, just check to make sure that they spin freely and there's no play. Also, while you have the rollers out, just to make sure there's no nicks, no gouges, nothing's going foreign into the machine, to keep your panels running cleanly out for a better finished product. Okay, so starting on the left side of the machine, some profiles will have tooling that is position specific on the rail. For example, we're doing the SS450. This tooling is used for multiple profiles, so you want to make sure you adjust it to the out position. That's tooling out board, in which you're backing up to the spacers on the underside of the tooling. Again, L1-1, left, tooling piece number 1, position number 1. We're looking for the number 1 in the window. Again, we just want to get it hand tight, making sure to keep it snug against the rail. We're going to come back. Do not over tight. Move on to the rest of them. So step number 9, if your machine is equipped with notching, is to swap out your notching cartridges for the correct cartridge for the correct panel. Refer to your manual for additional instructions on swapping those cartridges. Step 10 is alignment of your entry guides. Notching system. In this machine is a little different than a machine without. First thing you want to do on the right side, you need to line this scribe mark with the dimension listed on this edge guide. So we're doing the 450 or the 450 SL. We want to set this scribe mark at 2 1/8 inch. First, we're going to take loose this bolt and adjust that guide. Okay, now, similar to a machine without notching, we're going to align the scribe mark on the notcher with the notch in the tooling for the profile that we want to produce. So we're going to need to move this entire assembly to the center of the machine. Here we're going to loosen up a bolt. On the regular entry guide, this would be a lever. We just want to make sure we get this notch centered up as our start point for the right side guide alignment. Now, again, this is a bolt instead of a lever. We're just going to tighten it up. We're done with the right side. Okay, for step 12, for the notcher, similar to the right side, we need to set up the entry guide of our notcher first using the guide setup here. We want to do 450 SL at 1/8 of an inch. So we want to take this bolt loose and just adjust our scribe mark to 1/8 of an inch. Unlike a machine without notchers, this machine does not have a lever to take loose. So again, we're just going to take the bolt loose for the width adjustment. For step 13, you're going to need a strip of material, the width that you will be running. We want to go ahead and put it inside the guides. Make sure it's snug to the right side. Okay, step 14, I'm going to gently slide the left side guide into our material. Check that it rolls freely front to back, but doesn't rock left to right. And then because this is a notching machine, there's no lever to tighten. We're going to use our ratchet to tighten down the entry guide. Double check. In and out easy, left to right, we got nothing. Step 15 is your left side width adjustment. Now we're going to do this with this crank handle right here. Reason for that, we need to make sure we line up your SS450 mark, the panel profile that we're going to make, with the notch on the notcher. So we want to make sure we bring this tooling in until this arrow, that notch, and that notch are in a line with each other. One important thing to remember is that this lever does not engage unless you push it in to position. So we're going to spin it counterclockwise. Marks line up. Then we're going to put the pin back through the lever, make sure it's secure for travel. Okay, steps 16 and 17, we to load material on to the arbor and then to load that arbor onto the machine. One important step is to make sure, using our setup chart for width change procedure, that you have the correct right side offset for the profile that you want to run. For example, 450 SL, you're going to have -1/4, which means that you're going to hang over the right side of that arbor 1/4 of an inch. You want to correctly position the expandable arbor in your coil. For the snap lock 450 SL, what we want to have is a -1/4 inch offset from the slit edge of the coil. And we want the coil lap to be pointing material painted side down towards the back of the machine so that when it goes into the machine, you're painted side up. So we're going to take our arbor with the adjusting nut on the machine right side with our lightweight aluminum expandable arbors. Going to slide it in there with the proper offset and expand. Now we're just going to load it on the machine with the forklift. This is a great opportunity to point out that these should be locked at all times, especially if the machine is in motion. Okay, so tape and/or magnets are not acceptable for transit in this machine. When the machine's in transit, you should have one ratchet strap around the ID and one ratchet strap on the belly of the coil. So step 18 is to nip 1 inch off each corner and feed the material into the machine. Before we do that, we want to remove any tape that might leave a residue on our coil, or tape that might actually get pulled through the machine. It's going to help you keep the rollers clean. The more adhesive from the tape, or the more tape you put through the machine, the more it's going to pick up dirt and debris. More likely you're going to have an issue with your machine down the road. So we're just going to go ahead and find where the coil is taped, cut off that material, nip the corners, and feed the machine. In an attempt to help material get through the machine easily and not crash, and then get through your shear dies on the shear, we're going to put an angle in there so that it will transition better between the rollers and then through the shear. Easy way to do this is just to pull off a little slack, push it back on top of the machine so you're not fighting the weight of that coil. You're going to bring this under, line it up in your guides, and just gently push it through and up to the first drive roller. So step 19, we're actually going to start bringing the material through the machine. First step in that, we're going to need to plug it in. Normally, you're not going to have the covers off the machine during operation, but because it's in maintenance mode right now, we are going to have the covers off the machine, but you do not and should not run this machine with the covers off. Okay, now that we've got the machine plugged in, and turn the power on. Make sure our e-stops are free. We're in maintenance mode, so when we start the engine or start the motor, depending on how you're equipped, that light should turn red. It means we're in maintenance mode. Now we're going to go to the entry of the machine, jog the material halfway. We're going to come back down here to the exit end of the machine and jog it up to the shear. Right now we're just listening and looking for material getting hung up in the machine. We just want to move the material through the machine one set of rollers at a time. That way, if there is an issue, we don't get a lot of material piled up in one place before we can get it fixed. Steps 20 through 23 is the adjustment of bead rollers. This machine's already equipped, already adjusted. So for adjusting the bead rollers, just refer to the manual or additional resources from NewTek on getting that setup correct. Okay, so step 24, we're going to remove this shear profile guard. We're just going to remove these 3 bolts. For steps 25 and 26, we're going to actually remove the profile dies. Now this is the right exit, left entry, right entry. Now I want to make a point, at this point, you do not put your hands, your tools, or any other part through the shear. We're either going to reach over to the back side or the front, but never through. Now you want to store these dies with the machine side up so that you don't pick up any garbage off the ground or your shop floor. For long-term storage, put a little WD-40 on there so that they don't rust. Okay, for step 27, we need to verify that we have the correct #1 shear blade. #1 shear blade, single tooth. #1 shear blade, 3 teeth. This blade is for use on your 550, your 675, and your 275 panel only. Refer to the manual just to make sure you're using the correct #1 shear blade with the profile that you have in your machine. Okay, for step 28, we just want to make sure that we organize and place all of our profile dies in order for where they go in the machine. That way we don't get them in there backwards or reverse and have a crash. Okay, for step 29, I'm going to do the male entry guide. Again, we are not reaching through the shear. Just want to put it up there. Kind of eyeball where it should be. Step 30, we're going to do exit of the male profile. So this profile die should just sit to the outside of the entry die. Now what you'll want to do is refer to your user manual, your owner's manual. There is a drawing that gives it specific locations of these dies for a more detailed look. Step 31, we're just going to do exactly what we did for the male side. On the female side, we're going to start with the entry profile die, finish with the exit profile die. So the exit die, again, is just offset of the entry die. Looking for about a 32nd of an inch. Final steps in this procedure, we're going to actually jog the material through the dies just to make sure that the material doesn't crash into the dies as it's coming through. So we're going to start the machine, watch the material as you slowly jog it through. And we're clear. Okay, so one thing that may be necessary when you change your panel profile is the relation of the shear teeth to the panel. Now, in your manual, there are drawings that depict each profile and how the shear blades should line up with the profile dies. In this instance, we need to bring this tooth closer to the female leg or the right side so that we can get this tooth to fall in on the male side there. Again, you'll want to refer to your operators or your owner's manual for the specific setups for your specific application. The method we're going to use to adjust this, it's got 7 9/16 bolts here on the back. We're going to take these bolts loose. Okay, next, before cycling the shear, we want to make sure we put all our guards and covers on the shear. First, we're going to start with just hanging this in place. Now we need to verify that our shear guard here, our panel guard, will not crash into material. So after we get it tightened down, we want to adjust these covers, the right and left cover, independently so that our panel can clear without crashing. So carefully jog this forward through. Once you get enough out of there, you want to cycle the shear. Now we're going to take this panel, just verify we don't get any tearing, that we're shearing nice and straight, and then compare the dimensions in your manual for the profile you're running, SS450 panel profile, to the profile that's actually physically coming out of the machine. If you do not verify that your panel profile is correct to this drawing, you could potentially run an entire job with part of this panel missing or too much material on one side of this panel or the other, and then the panel won't lock together. So you could potentially run the job and it not lock in on itself on the roof. So you want to make sure you do this every time. Now, before you do anything else with your machine, because we want to keep this machine safe and clean, we're going to make sure we put all the covers back on. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, first refer to your owner's manual. A lot of the information that you might need, questions that you might need answers, that might already be in there. Second, you can check out our website, or you can just call us directly. We'll help you over the phone.